Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. My name is Elisa Kim, and I'm very excited to start off today's portion of the symposium. I'm a rising second year here at Yale College, and this past summer, I had the privilege of working under the supervision of Dr. Helen Caines, along with the extensive support of the research scientists, postdoctoral, and graduate students in her lab. Her lab primarily focuses on heavy ion collisions in order to better understand the behaviors and properties of nuclear matter. And one project that she is a collaborator for is the Electron Ion Collider, or the EIC. And within the EIC is EPIC, or the Electron Proton Ion Collider, which is a detector. And this is where I spent a majority of my attention this past summer, more specifically with the LFHCal, or the Longitudinal Forward Hadron Calorimeter. When an electron collides with the proton or heavy ion in the center of EPIC, particles are dispersed outwards, which then are detected by tiles specifically engineered to emit light or scintillate upon contact with these particles. In the center of every tile is a dimple, which then redirects any light towards a SIPM, or a silicon photon multiplier. And these SIPMs allow us to determine how many photons were detected by the tiles, which then has a direct correlation with how many particles were detected by the tiles. And you can see the general configuration for a tile on top of a SIPM. The gray stacks represent all the tiles stacked on top of each other. And then in the LFHCal, there's going to be many stacks of these. So all these tiles are going to be right next to each other, flush from edge to edge. And so if too many are too large or too small, then the stacks may not fit properly within the LFHCal. So measuring every single one is very crucial, and ensuring that every single one is within a certain threshold. As there are 100,000 plus of these tiles, automatizing this measuring process is crucial to keep the project moving forward. And this automation of the process is what I have been working on this past summer. This will be accomplished through utilizing a USB camera, which can connect directly with a computer and automatically take photos in timed intervals. Then the computer can analyze the image and give us the precise dimensions of every single tile. Upon taking a photo, the image can be broken up into segments by color in a process known as image segmentation. In this way, the computer is able to more easily analyze the photo and detect edges. And edge detection is key to this entire process, so streamlining this is very important. Image segmentation first begins by taking in the RGB value of every single pixel and comparing and finding the differences in values between it and the pixel right next to and below it. You can kind of view the entire image as one large undirected graph, with every node being the X and Y coordinates and every weight of every edge being the differences in RGB values. We can then use unified data structures and path compression to find the root of every segment, and also find the edge with the smallest weight. Then we can use Bruffa's algorithm in order to create minimum spanning trees, and also find the edge with the smallest weight. So once two segments are combined, they take on the value of the smaller root. The root is going to be the color most predominant in that section. So in this way, we're able to combine sections with similar colors. And this process of merging occurs until no more merges are happening. So here are some results of image segmentation. You can see on the top is the original image, and then 3 different results on the bottom from 3 different threshold values. The image on the very left has a smaller threshold value, which means less merges occur. The image on the very right has a larger threshold value, which means more merges occur. And for my project, because edge detection is what I really care about, an image similar to the one in the middle would be most ideal for me. We can then take this newly segmented image and put all of the RGB values into a 2D histogram en route. And this is especially useful because we can also look at the X and Y projections along any location in the histogram. So you can see at the top is the X projection of Y equals the 324th pixel. And then on the bottom, the Y projection of X equals the 220th pixel. And you can clearly see that the edges are much more defined, much more clear. All those jumps in RGB values represent those edges. And ideally, the computer is able to detect where these edges are happening and then find how many pixels are between those 2 locations. This is great. We're almost ready to start measuring, but there's one more thing that we have to take into account, and that is the fact that with so many moving parts and so many tiles that have to be measured, not all of them are going to be perfectly straight and aligned, which is why we have to include an aspect of rotation. And this is accomplished through first looking for the X coordinate of the bottom left corner It starts scanning horizontally from left to right, looking for significant differences in RGB values in the third quadrant, and then bottom up, again, looking for those differences in values. Once it finds the X and Y coordinate of the bottom left corner, it then does the same for the upper left corner, and then uses these 2 points to create a triangle and find the angle that the top corner has to be rotated by to be aligned with the bottom one. And then this angle can be inputted into a rotation matrix written above. And this matrix is then used to rotate the entire image. So here are some results before and after rotation. Before on the left, you can kind of see that the edge is ever so slightly slanted when compared with this white line or straight edge. But on the very right, after rotation, the image is much more straight, much more aligned. Okay, so we're finally ready to start taking some measurements. And this is going to be the image that I'm going to be referencing for this slide and the next. In order to find the measurements, it scans again horizontally left to right for one line. Let's say y equals the 70th pixel, which is maybe like around here. So it starts scanning left to right, looking for those differences in RGB values. Once it finds the start of the edge, it moves to the right side of the image and then scans right to left. Again, looking for those edges and those differences. Once it has the start and end points, it just tracks those 2 values and then finds how many pixels are located in between those two locations. This can be done 300 times along one direction and then 300 times another direction. And I use the value 300 because that's approximately how many pixels were along one length from this distance in the camera. We can take these 300 values and input them into another histogram to see the spread. And you can see that the spread is quite small, which is good. In a very ideal situation, it would just be one value that is consistently being recorded because ideally the tile is a perfect square. So we can see that the previous image had a dimension of 370.5 pixels by 397.769 pixels. And we can convert these pixel measurements to units that we're more familiar with. I took a photo of a caliber from the same distance and found that for this image, there were approximately 20 pixels in 1/10 of an inch. So we can take this information and convert the pixel dimensions to inches and centimeters, about 1.85 by approximately 2. And this is quite similar to the actual dimensions of the tile. I took a caliber and manually found the dimensions of the tile, which is written to the right, 1.879 inches by 1.999. And the differences in the measurements between manually using caliber and the dimensions found through the code is written at the bottom there. Both are less than 30 mil, which is good. Now, my project is not quite yet close to being completed. Over the next few steps, I'm going to be creating an automated process that will pick up a tile, move it to a location that a camera can take a photo of it with, and then move the tile out of the way before picking up another tile, taking a photo, etc. And then simultaneously, the computer should be analyzing the image and finding the dimensions. This will be completed through utilization of a translation stage, which Lily will be talking about next, and also a solenoid valve and Venturi pump. And some of these parts were able to come in this week, so we were able to play around with them for a little bit. The green tubing allows compressed air to flow through, which first goes through the Venturi pump. That's the orange-gray contraption you see there. And through the design of the Venturi pump, when air is forced through, a vacuum is created in the bottom port, which in our case is connected to another pipe and has a tiny, tiny, tiny suction cup that you can't see in the video, but you can kind of see in the image here. And so when the vacuum is created, it's able to pick up anything that the suction cup is touching. In our case, it's going to be a tile within a Ziploc bag to kind of keep it safe. But it's picking up the tile, and then we can use the translation stage to move it wherever we wish. So ideally, by the end of a few weeks, we're going to have that process where it picks it up, takes a photo, and cycles through. After that, we only have to connect that with all the software I've been working on this past summer, and the process, the automation for measuring these tiles will be complete. I want to remind everyone that if you're very, very interested, I am more than happy to show you all of this in action in the lab. I'm sure you can come find me, and I will be more than happy to show you. But yeah, that concludes my presentation today. Thank you guys for your time.